You don't want them back. You are not confused about that. You are not fantasizing about reconciliation and hoping they'll change. You can see the relationship very clearly now. You know what it cost you, you know what it took from you, and you know why you left. But still, they show up in your body, not as a desire, not as a longing for the relationship, but a wave that hits you out of absolutely nowhere. In the quiet, in the space where your system finally is not bracing for impact, at night when nothing is happening, in moments that feel neutral enough for your guard to drop. You miss them, and then the shame hits. You start interrogating yourself. What does this mean? Why am I still thinking about them? Did I lie to myself about being done? Am I weaker than I thought? Did I leave too soon? Did I imagine the harm? That spiral is not intuition. It's your conditioning colliding with safety. Missing someone after abuse is not a sign you've made a wrong decision. It is not proof of unresolved love. It is not a secret desire to return. It is a nervous system attachment surfacing now that the threat is gone. And if no one has explained that to you, you will keep turning a biological response into a character flaw. This episode is not here to tell you to be patient or compassionate with yourself in a vague way. It's here to stop you from misinterpreting what your body is doing and accidentally reopening doors that took everything in you to close. I'm Megan Webster, an abuse recovery coach, a trauma-informed strategist, and the woman a narcissist hopes to never meet twice. This is the Narcissist Worst Nightmare podcast, where women stop doubting their reality, stop negotiating their needs to keep peace, and rebuild their lives after emotional and psychological abuse. This episode is for the woman who is out, who is clear, who is rebuilding, and who is secretly disturbed by the fact that she still misses someone she does not want back. We're going to talk about what happens, what it actually means, and how to let the sensation pass without turning it into a story that pulls you backwards. Missing someone is not a choice. It is not a conscious thought. It does not originate in longing for the relationship. It originates in the nervous system. Inside of an abusive or controlling dynamic, your body bonds under stress. Attachment was formed in an environment where closeness and threat live side by side. Relief followed by conflict, connection followed by volatility. Your system learned to associate the presence of that person with regulation, even when that regulation was temporary and came at a cost. When you leave, the danger ends, and the attachment circuitry does not shut off on command. So when your life becomes quieter, when your days are more predictable, and when no one is pulling on you emotionally, your nervous system looks for the familiar regulator that it once relied on, not because it's healthy, because it was known. That search can feel like missing, not missing who they were, missing the pattern your body was trained inside. This is why the sensation often shows up when you are finally safe, not when you're in crisis or when you're actively hurting, but when things slow down long enough for your system to notice the absence of the stimulus it used to organize itself around. Missing is not desire resurfacing, it is the echo of a bond formed under pressure. And if you don't understand that, you will keep confusing sensation with meaning. Most women are surprised when the missing part starts. It doesn't usually happen when you're leaving or when you're angry or when you're in survival mode rebuilding your life. It happens later, weeks, months, sometimes longer, when your system has had enough distance from the harm for the edges to blur. Memory does this thing where it softens what was once sharp once the threat is no longer immediate. The nervous system prioritizes attachment accuracy. It remembers moments of relief more easily than patterns of damage. It recalls connection faster than fear. That is not nostalgia, it's neurobiology. Your body learned to survive by tracking when things were good enough to breathe. Those moments get stored as proof of safety, even if they were surrounded by instability. Over time, with the daily evidence of harm, the body starts presenting those memories forward, not to trick you, to regulate itself. This is why missing someone after abuse often comes without romantic fantasy. You're not imagining getting back together. You're not replaying good times for hope. You are just hit with a heaviness, a pull, a strange ache that doesn't make sense to you in your mind. That ache is not asking you to return. It's asking you for regulation. And if you don't recognize that, it'll keep trying to answer a nervous system signal without a relational solution. Love expands you. Attachment under threat contracts you. They are not the same thing, even though they can coexist. Attachment is formed through proximity, repetition, and emotional intensity. Love is built through safety, reciprocity, and choice. Abuse accelerates attachment while eroding love. That's why leaving can feel so disorienting. The bond is strong even when the relationship is not. Missing someone does not mean you love them well or deeply. It means your system has adapted to them. Attachment residue lingers because the bond was never allowed to resolve naturally. There was no clean separation, no emotional closure, no consistent safety that allowed the system to loosen gradually, so it snapped instead. So now, when your life lacks intensity, your body reaches back toward what it learned to attach to, not because it was good, because it was formative. This is where a lot of women will get stuck. They assume missing equals truth. They assume longing equals unresolved love. They assume the body wouldn't feel something unless it meant something. Your body feels things because it was trained to, but not every sensation is a directive to move. Absence is not neutral to a nervous system that lived in anticipation. Inside of abuse, absence often preceded reconnection. Silence was followed by contact. Withdrawal was followed by relief. Distance became a cue to stay alert. So when it's gone, when there's no more contact, no more checking, no more emotional backlash, your system reads the absence as unfinished. And that unfinished feeling can turn into longing. Not because you want the person, because your body is waiting for a pattern to be completed. This is why blocking no contact and distance can initially make the missing feel stronger. You remove the stimulus, but the circuitry is still firing. That doesn't mean no contact is wrong. It means the nervous system needs time and repetition to learn a new baseline. And here's something that I share with all of my clients. Letting longing pass without interpretation is a skill. It's not a mindset, and it's not a belief. It is a physiological retraining process. Longing after abuse is not nostalgia. It's not a romantic attachment resurfacing. It is a nervous system memory searching for a familiar regulation pattern. Trauma bonding forms when relief follows distress. The body learns to associate closeness with resolution even when that closeness was a source of harm. Over time, the system stops distinguishing between safety and relief. It only knows that contact ends with a spike. This is why longing can appear sudden, without desire, without fantasy, and without intention. It's not wanting the person back. It's about the body reaching for the fastest route that it knows to reduce internal discomfort. Trauma bonds do not live in thought. They live in sequence, tension, uncertainty, emotional spiking, then relief. The cycle continues. That cycle conditions the nervous system the same way that intermittent reinforcement conditions behavior. The body becomes oriented towards the pattern, not the person. When you leave, the pattern breaks before the system has a replacement. That spike will still happen. The relief no longer arrives the same way. So longing shows up in the body's attempt to complete the cycle it was trained inside. This is why longing feels urgent when your mind is clear. It's not pulling you towards love. It's pulling you towards something familiar, toward a known end to discomfort. Trauma bonding also explains why memories soften with distance. The nervous system recalls relief more easily than threat once the immediate danger is gone. Over time, the edge dulls, not because the harm wasn't real, but because the system is prioritizing regulation over accuracy. This is not denial, this is physiology. What makes trauma-bonded longing especially confusing is that it can surface during moments of vulnerability that have nothing to do with the relationship. Stress, fatigue, loneliness, emotional overwhelm, the body looks for what used to bring it back down fastest. That doesn't mean the bond is still active. It means that your system hasn't finished learning new regulation pathways yet. Every time you let longing rise and fall without responding, the trauma bond will weaken. The nervous system learns that the cycle does not need to be completed in order to survive. That discomfort can peak and resolve without contact, fantasy, or collapse. And this is really how trauma bonds dissolve. It's not through force, it's through repetition with a different ending. Longing is not evidence of unfinished business. It's a showcase of a bond that's losing its leverage. The first few times you don't act on longing, it feels brutal. Your body expects relief to follow contact, rumination, or checking. When that relief doesn't come, the system protests, anxiety spikes, thoughts race, and doubt creeps in. This is not failure, it's recentering. Every time you let longing crest and fall without responding, the nervous system updates its expectations. It learns that sensation is actually survivable, that absence does not equal danger, that nothing bad happens to you when you stay present instead of reaching backwards. This is where women often panic and think they're doing something wrong when they're not. They are just breaking a contact loop. The discomfort you will feel in those moments, it's not actually loss. It's withdrawal from a pattern that once regulated you. And like any withdrawal, it passes faster when it's not fed. What makes this phase destabilizing is that your system is used to movement, used to reaction, used to doing something when that sensation arises. When you don't move, your body interprets stillness as a threat before it learns it as safety. That gap between the urge and the action is where most women break and go back, not because they want the person, but because they want the sensation to stop. The urge is not longing for them, it's longing for regulation. When you don't obey it, your nervous system scrambles for its old tools. It throws thoughts at you, memories, emotional highlights stripped of context. It whispers urgency and frames it as truth. That doesn't mean the urge isn't meaningful. It means the system hasn't learned a new ending yet. So every time you stay through that moment without reaching, you are teaching your body something radical. You are showing it that relief did not come from the external contact anymore. It comes from internal containment, that lessons rewire faster than insight ever could. This is the moment where self-trust actually builds, not when you feel calm, but when you choose not to move while activated. Missing does not disappear when you force it away. It fades because your system finds new anchors. As your life becomes more predictable, as your days stop swinging between emotional extremes, as your body learns what stability feels like without strings attached, the attachment residue loses its grip. And this is an area that confuses women the most, because safety feels dull at first. Calm will feel empty. Neutral feels unsettling. That doesn't mean something is wrong with your life. It means your nervous system is no longer being stimulated the way that it once was. Intensity trained your system to feel alive. Safety retrains it to feel present. As that shift happens, missing stops visiting as often. Not because you've healed harder, but because your body found another way to regulate. What you are really grieving here is not the person. It's the loss of adrenaline as identity. For a long time, your nervous system associated aliveness with vigilance, anticipation, emotional spikes, recovery cycles. So when those disappear, the body doesn't immediately feel relief. It feels understimulated, and that can mask as boredom, sadness, nostalgia. Women misinterpret the sensation and assume it means they are settling, numbing out, or losing passion. In reality, their system is detoxing from chaos. Safety does not announce itself with fireworks. It arrives quietly. It shows up on days that don't require emotional cleanup, mornings that don't start with scanning, evenings that don't end in rumination. The nervous system needs time to recognize those moments as nourishment instead of emptiness. Missing fades when safety stops feeling foreign. That transition does not happen overnight. It happens by staying long enough in peace for the body to trust it. This is where the work inside of the Reinvent, Rebuild, and Redeem membership actually lands. This is not motivation and hand-holding. It's a repeated experience of safety that teaches the nervous system something new. Women inside of our membership learn how to sit with sensation without collapsing into self-doubt. They learn how to recognize attachment without turning it into a relational decision. They learn how to stay oriented to the present instead of being pulled back by a reflex. This is not about willpower or strength. It's about structure, the kind that allows your system to relearn what calm actually means without it being hijacked by old patterns. Missing will fade when safety becomes familiar, and safety becomes familiar through consistency, not extended effort. This is why healing in isolation will always stall. Without structure, without community, the nervous system never gets co-regulation or repetition to release its grip. Insight comes and goes, but the body stays unconvinced. Inside of our membership, the work is designed to meet women where they actually are, not where they think they should be. We don't treat missing as a problem to eliminate. We treat it as information and data about where your system still needs regulation to come from. And from there, we build internal capacity instead of outsourcing the relief. Our clients begin to notice something subtle but profound. The sensations still arise, but they don't hijack the day. The thoughts still show up, but it doesn't dictate an action. And their body starts to trust that they can move through discomfort without it being rescued or abandoned. That is nervous system authority, and it's built through lived experiences, not discipline. You are not regressing, you are releasing. If you miss them sometimes, it does not mean that you're not done. It means your body is still finishing a process your mind completed earlier. You don't need to rush that. You don't need to analyze it, and you don't need to make it mean anything about your future. Let the sensation pass. Let your system learn, and let the space stay intact. This is not a step backwards. It is your nervous system catching up to a decision that already saved your life. Abandoning yourself to soothe a feeling. Reaching backward to avoid discomfort. Handing authority back to a pattern you already outgrew. What you're doing now is different. You are staying, not running. You are witnessing. You are allowing sensation to move without making it a command. That is true release. And the release is quiet. It doesn't feel victorious. It's anticlimactic. And that's exactly why it works. There's no drama to reinforce the bond, no emotional payoff to keep it alive. The absence of reaction is the end of the story. If this episode cracks something open in you, good. That means you're noticing what's actually happening instead of judging yourself for it. Missing someone you don't want back doesn't mean you failed at leaving. It means your body is still learning that danger is past. And that learning happens through time, repetition, and support. If this landed with you, share it with another woman who keeps questioning herself or feeling things she doesn't want to. Follow so you don't miss the next one. And if you're ready for support, will your system relearn safety without reaching backwards? The Reinvent, Rebuild, Redeem membership is open for you. The link to join is in our show notes. This is the Narcissist's Worst Nightmare podcast, where women stop doubting their reality and they rebuild their lives from the inside out.